Hi, everyone, and welcome to the last part of our series, The Calm Birth Blueprint. Tonight, we're going to be talking about nutrition and hypnobirthing for trimester 3. So, this is for all you mums who are approaching D-Day and are wondering how we can help. So, Rochelle is going to start, so I'll hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. And yeah, it's the last in our four-part series, and we're finally at the final trimester. So this is the kind of the big moment that everyone's generally waiting for. And so it's things really do change as we go through the trimesters. And so for the third trimester, well, I say the final trimester, really the postpartum is the fourth trimester, but the final trimester of the kind of pregnancy per se, we're going to talk about how we can support that. So looking at energy, digestion, we're going to talk about sleep, emotional balance, and also just preparing the body for the birth and the recovery. So with the third trimester, this is when the baby is rapidly gaining fat, brain tissue. They're rapidly growing more than any other time of the pregnancy. So the nutrient needs are going to increase, even if you feel like your appetite doesn't. So a lot of people don't really feel like they want to eat in the final trimester, but it's really super important. And really, you want to be aiming for about an extra 450 calories on top of what you would have initially. And as you probably would have noticed, as we've gone through the pregnancy, we've increased those calories every trimester. And I'll touch on a little bit more in a second about what we're looking for with those calories. But the body has also got the most blood volume that it's had throughout the entire pregnancy. Your digestion is slower. It's really focusing now. The body is focusing on supporting that pregnancy, and so everything else tends to slow down within the mother. So digestion can slow down. Also, your progesterone is at its highest. So people find they get like bloating and reflux and constipation. That can all happen. Sleep is very much disrupted in the final trimester, and circulation can change as well. So we'll touch on that. So when we're thinking about the nutritional needs of the body, it's really important that we're getting a good amount of protein. So touched on the fact we need to increase those calories, but specifically, it's really important to be getting protein. Protein is going to support that increase in the baby's growth, and it's also going to give the mum the strength for the labor. So the best thing really is, even if, especially if you're not feeling like you want to eat much, having small portions regularly throughout the day can really be beneficial. And pairing the protein with those kind of complex carbohydrates. So the carbohydrates with fiber in them as well, make them complex. When you pair them together, it stabilizes the blood sugar and can really support the energy better. And for a lot of mothers in the final trimester, they're very tired, so they're always looking for ways to support the energy. So that can be a really good one. And the other thing that is really important in the final trimester is supporting the bones and the muscles of the baby, but also the sleep of the mother. So, your mother's often are really very, very tired in the final trimester. So we need to look at how we can support sleep, and getting those calcium, magnesium foods into the diet and vitamin D is really helpful with getting that sleep in. So looking at your nuts and seeds and dark green leafy veg are brilliant. These are also all nutrients that are really important when it comes to supporting cramps. A lot of mothers in the final trimester will find that they get increased leg cramps. That can be for different reasons. It can be just due to the fact that the circulation is reducing from the increase in volume. It can also be from things like preeclampsia. So getting those nutrients in, those specific nutrients, can be really, really helpful. And those nuts and seeds and dark green leafy veg are also really good sources of vitamin E. And vitamin E is a fantastic kind of underrated nutrient, because it's been actually found in some research that mothers with low levels of vitamin E are a lot more likely to have children who are more sensitive to allergies. So making sure you're getting your vitamin E in the diet is really crucial in making sure that you're supporting your baby in that respect as well. And going back to the cramps, I mentioned about getting magnesium in the food, but magnesium is also an electrolyte, meaning it's one of the minerals that's found in water. So it's really important to make sure especially if you're getting lots of cramps or if you're exercising still in your final trimester, you need to make sure you're getting electrolytes to replace those minerals that you would have been potentially losing. The other nutrient that's really important is omega-3s, but specifically DHA. So you tend to find that you have EPA, DHA. DHA is specifically important for the brain development of the baby. And you can get this in oily fish. If you don't eat oily fish, you want to be looking at getting things like chia seeds and flaxseed and walnuts. And you can take a supplement. You can get either a oily fish base or an algae based supplement. But if you are having oily fish, trying to get a couple of portions a week, I think a lot of people can be a little scared about having oily fish, worried about maybe the mercury levels in pregnancy. But as long as you're aiming for smaller fish, things like salmon or anchovies, it's absolutely safe to be having that in the pregnancy. So I touched on magnesium and its benefit actually in supporting relaxation and sleep, but it's also really important for the nervous system and that emotional support. Towards the end of the pregnancy is when mothers can start to feel a little bit more anxious, the apprehension of not knowing what's coming up, not knowing what's going to be happening with the labor. So magnesium is really fantastic at supporting the stress and anxiety in the body. And if we're thinking about things that can, and obviously Charlotte's going to go through the hypnobirthing, which is fantastic for supporting the nervous system. But things that you can also do yourself, making sure that you've got a really good evening routine, making sure you're coming off of your phone an hour before bed, making sure that you are kind of using those deep breathing practices, and warm baths, making sure they're not too hot, but a light warm bath is okay. And you can have herbal teas to relax you, but just make sure you're not taking anything like raspberry leaf, which can increase the uterine contractions.
Well, not too
So
early. Yeah, you might want that by about week 39.
exactly, making sure the timing of it is good. Absolutely. And I touched on also before about the fact that circulation can be distorted or disrupted in that final trimester. It's the swelling can really increase. A lot of mothers will find they get really swollen feet. So just gentle movement can be really helpful. Even if you don't want to do exercise, just gentle walking. Even if you're lying down with your legs up, keeping your legs moving, it's really, really helpful for keeping the circulation going. And there are certain foods that can also support circulation. So foods that are rich in nitrates are really good at basically expanding those blood vessels. So things like beetroot, pomegranate are fantastic options. And also, if you have a variety of these sort of foods in warm drinks and meals, it can actually sustain the effect. So I actually personally love, like, you can have like a beetroot latte, or you can have like a warmed beetroot in meals as well. Like a warm beetroot risotto, I think is always really nice. So there's really good ways of supporting that circulation as well through your diet. So if we're looking at preparing the body for the birth and the recovery, it's really important that what we're doing is supporting how the tissues are going to be resilient to the big change that they're going to be going through. And that doesn't matter whether that's a conventional birth or whether that's a C-section. And supporting just generally also through the postpartum recovery. So foods that are really rich in collagen are fantastic for supporting the tissue, what we call viability. So things like bone broth is fantastic. Bone broth, you don't have to make it yourself anymore. You can actually buy it in a stock cube or a ready-made liquid. You can apply that you can use it basically as a stock like you would with any other stock cube. Slow cooked stews are fantastic. If you're slow cooking, they release all of that fibrinous collagen. And foods that are rich in vitamin C, your broccoli, your strawberries, are really good at also supporting your collagen production. So you need vitamin C for that as well. So I've touched on a few things there to support. And I hope that's been helpful.
Yeah,
And I'll leave
great.
that to Charlotte for any questions. And I'm going to have a quick drink.
Good idea. I've learned a lot. I love beetroot, so I was like, this is good to know.
I love beetroot. It's fantastic. It's got so many benefits.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions through, so I'll just ask those for you, Michelle. So are there signs in my diet that could contribute to low or high birth weight?
So we can never say for sure that, if you're eating this diet is going to lead to this, but there's definitely diet patterns in the third trimester that can really influence birth weight, and that can go either way. So, for example, if you're not having adequate overall intake of food, so for example, if you're skipping meals or if you're eating really small portions, like I touched on before, if you're not getting, that additional calorie intake, or if you've noticed that you're consistently feeling really lightheaded or weak, you're probably not getting enough food. And it's really important because, like I mentioned, this is when the baby is doing most of its growth. And if you're not getting enough calories, it can really limit the growth. So, for example, really trying to get those nutrient dense foods in the diet. So really trying to get those, like nuts and seeds are a fantastic way of getting kind of nutrient dense healthy fats, are great calorific but still healthy ways of boosting the calorie intake. And if you kind of think that you want to be aiming for kind of 3 meals, and then maybe you want to be getting your snacks in between those meals as well. But yeah, absolutely, it's important to be it can have an impact.
How about like a high birth weight? Because I think this is a really good question because I think a lot of my mums are more worried about high birth weights than low ones.
You can't, to be honest with you, you can't really what they've noticed is they've not noticed so much of a correlation the other way round.
Ah, right,
So
okay.
they've not, it's more kind of low
More
to high,
low.
the kind of
Low.
low, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I understand. And another question is, how can I support my gut microbiome before birth?
So supporting the gut microbiome in the weeks before birth can be really beneficial in terms of supporting the digestion, your immune health, your like inflammation, but it's also really important because it can influence your baby's microbiome. A lot of people talk about the fact that if you've had a C-section or natural birth can impact your baby's microbiome, but so can what you've eaten in the weeks leading up to the birth. So trying to do things that are going to support the good bacteria in the gut. So things like, if you're eating fruit or vegetables, trying to have them with the skins on, that's going to give you that insoluble fiber, which is going to feed the bacteria. Another good kind of option is if you are cooking potatoes and then you cool them down, that increases something called resistant starch, which again acts as a kind of fiber for the gut bacteria. Um, Prebiotic food, so things like the stalks of broccoli, dandelion, these are really good prebiotic foods. Again, they're feeding the good bacteria, but also probiotic foods, so like fermented foods, things like your miso and your sauerkraut. These are also going to support the good bacteria in the gut. So there's kind of a few different things there that you can do to support it, and you can take a probiotic as well. But I'd make sure that you're speaking to someone who is a qualified practitioner, because there are specific ones that are safe in pregnancy and ones that aren't, ones that are specific probiotics for different reasons. You can have ones that are more for supporting anxiety, that sort of thing as well.
Okay, great. I'll just have another quick look. Yeah, I think that's all the questions that we've got for you. So you're done. So yeah, thank you
So we'll
so
hand over to, well, I was
much.
going to say, we'll hand over to you. I'm
Yeah,
really
thank you.
excited to hear, because this is the final big moment, isn't it, with hypnobirthing?
It is. This is like the peak trimester really for hypnobirthing. So I've got my slides as usual. So I'm just gonna get that all sorted. Can you guys see that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All good.
Yeah, all good. All
Right. Well, it says welcome. Let's get started. But Rochelle's already got us started, so I'll just carry on. So I'm Charlotte. I'm a hypnobirthing teacher. I've been practicing for nearly 5 years now. And I had three kids of my own. And my first experience of birth in particular was not very good. And this is what led me to sort of find hypnobirthing in my second and third pregnancies. So it says there, I teach hypnobirthing because I needed it myself. So once upon a time, I was you, sat there in my third trimester thinking, oh my God, this baby actually has to come out now. How are we going to do this? So don't panic because I've got you. So trimester three, we call it the preparation phase. So there's a lot going on with the baby, as Rochelle's been through. But for you yourself, preparation means everything. And that's all the physical stuff that you have to do, but also mentally and emotionally preparing for the moment that you're going to meet the love of your life, as I like to think of it. So in trimester three, there's quite a lot happening. So certain things you probably be able to feel more. Obviously, stronger movements from the baby, and this is just because there's less room in there. So arms and legs and heads are getting much bigger and a lot stronger movement, just because they've got more muscle tone and stronger bones and things like that, and less space to move around. You'll start to feel a real heaviness in the lower pelvic area. This is because, like they say, the bump drops down. So what happens is relaxing, the hormone kicks in and it expands the pelvis out like this, and that allows baby to move down, which is what we want them to do. So you might find that breathing becomes a bit more manageable, but real heaviness down in the lower sort of pelvic area, even in sort of your pubic area. Backache can also increase a little bit, just because relaxing, like I say, it's relaxing all of those bones where we want it to, but it just means that sort of lying down, sleeping can become a little bit more uncomfortable. You probably will experience Braxton Hicks. Not everybody does, but most people do. These are like your practice contractions, kind of the warm up. Braxton Hicks happen at the side of your bump, and if you have a drink of cold water or you get up and move around, they tend to go away. The real deal, they come from the top of the bump, because that's where the muscles are starting to work in unison together. If you have a cold drink or move, they won't go away because they'll just continue happening. So that's your little test. If you think, oh, what was that? Have a cold drink or move position and see if they just carry on. And then it's more than likely you probably are in early labour. You might feel a little bit of breathlessness. I think it's a lot easier in trimester three to get a full breath because the diaphragm has a bit more space to expand. And as I said, disturbed sleep, as Rochelle mentioned as well, just from things like leg cramps and backache. Vivid dreams are caused by the rise in your hormone levels. So you might find yourself having some really wacky, wacky dreams that you wake up and you're like, whoa, what just happened to me? So yes.
I was actually going to touch on that as well, because I know the vivid dreams can be really big in the third trimester, and the magnesium can help with that as well. It's been found to help with vivid dreams as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, so there you go, getting magnesium in. And then it's just natural to feel excited, but really probably quite anxious as well about giving birth, particularly if it's the first time. I always think people say to like mums who are obviously nearly at D-Day, they're like, oh, you must be so excited. It's like, yes, I am, but I do have to actually do this now. So it's totally normal to feel that way. Things to focus on for this trimester are just trying to find pockets of time and you can start feeling really calm and connected with your body, and really thinking about how you're going to prepare in all the ways that we're sort of talking about tonight. So physically preparing, mentally preparing, and emotionally preparing. And we'll go through some tips on that as well. Try to start trusting your body because it does know what it's doing and it will try and birth your baby as comfortably as possible. Our main job is to relax and let our body do what it does best. Which sounds a bit bonkers because you hear about pushing, which sounds like a very intentional movement and all of these things. But trust me, relaxing is the number one thing that you can do to sort of try and train yourself to do. And then practicing some of the techniques that we'll go through. When we practice them, it makes them more instinctual when we need them in real life. So a few techniques that we can try this trimester. So down breathing is a really long out breath compared to the in breath. So I've just put there breathing in for 4 and out for 7. That long breath out really helps us push all the energy down to baby. And what you'll find is when you do this breath, when you're in labour, The in-breath will take you to the peak of the contraction, and that long out-breath will just let it ebb away. So that's the kind of thing we're looking for. This is in the middle part of labour, so not the beginning where the contractions are a bit all over the place while they settle down. And towards the end of labour, where you're starting to give birth, the contractions will become a lot closer together. So this breathing technique is not for that bit, it's for managing that bit in the middle, basically. So give that a practice, in for 4 and out for 7. Pelvic floor exercises are really important in trimester 3 alongside perineal massage. So I know this isn't for everyone and it can be a tricky area to reach when you've got a huge bump in the way, but I would recommend trying to do perineal massage from 36 weeks and not before. Make sure you've got clean hands, or if your partner's doing it for you, that they've got clean hands, and then use any vegetable-based oil to sort of sweep in a C motion, sort of backwards from the vagina back towards your anus. That's how you do perineal massage. There are some videos on my Instagram that explain that as well, with the use of a kiwi for demonstration purposes. So give that a watch and see if it helps. The reason we do this is because the perineal muscle really needs to stretch during labour to allow baby's head to pass through. So if we've done these sort of exercises, it really, really helps that area stretch. And we're trying to avoid any sort of tears or anything like that in that area. And then visualization. So we're visualizing not only what we want our birth to look like, but also the moment that we're going to meet our baby and how that's going to look and feel. And visualization is a really, really good tool for helping our brain think that's done something before. So particularly if this is your first baby, start having a think about what you want your labour and birth to look like. And it will also help you when you're writing things like your birth preferences as well. So when we're thinking about when baby's born, obviously bonding will happen at that point. We call it the golden hour and we have skin to skin. But what we're looking at here is how to bond with baby in trimester 3. So there's a few little simple exercises, and you're probably doing these already because it's hard to keep your hands off a bump when you've got one. So resting your hands on your bump and just notice baby's rhythm and movements. So you will find that once you sit still or like start being more still lying down, baby will probably come to life because your movement is what actually rocks them sort of to sleep. So during the daytime, if you're really busy, you'll notice that you may not have as many movements as if you are sat down or laid down. So just resting your hand on your bump and just getting really in tune with what baby's doing in there, whether it's a full circle or just a hand or a leg, you can kind of feel feel them moving. Talking to your baby, so your baby recognizes your voice from about 16 weeks pregnant, and they can detect the voice of your partner or a significant person in your life from around 20 weeks. So their hearing is that good. They can actually distinguish between different languages as well. So talking to them really, really helps. And then, like we said, the visualization, visualize the moment you're going to meet them and hold them and what that's going to look and feel like. And it all helps you bond with baby before they're here. So then we're going to look at just connecting this all together. So some really useful affirmations for trimester 3 are: my body knows how to birth my baby. Each practice breath prepares me for a calm, positive birth. I meet my baby with strength, confidence, and trust. So write them down, stick them up on your bathroom mirror, and just repeat them to yourself every morning, and it will help just calm your nervous system down. Or have a go at writing your own, and you don't have to use those ones. So any affirmations that make sense to you will be really useful. And then getting practical. So I'm going to skip to point 7 on this list. I should have put it as number 1. Give this list to your birth partner. This is like their bit. So in trimester 3, we need to get our hospital bag ready. If you're planning a home birth, I would also pack a home birth bag because you don't want your birth partner running around the house looking for your TENS machine or your sanitary towels or your breast pads or whatever it is that you need. So I would pack a bag just exactly the same. It's also really helpful if you do have to transfer into hospital. It's really good to just have it all in a bag ready to go. If you're having a hospital birth, do a trial run to the hospital. So locally, we have lots of things in the way of the hospital, like a level crossing and traffic lights and all sorts. And so I always say to people, do a specific trial run to the hospital and see what is your best route to, usually in our case, to avoid the level crossing because it seems to be down for hours when it goes down. Write your birth preferences with your birth partner. So go through and understand what you want your birth to look like and what you're happy to have happen to you in labour and birth and what you would prefer to be consulted on, basically. If you're having a home birth, make sure you practice the setup, including the birth pool. So a lot of pool hire companies will deliver at around 37 weeks, the pool, so that you can have a practice. So give that a full practice. Write your birth affirmations, so whether they're ones that you find online or ones you want to write yourself, that's fine. And then prepare any snacks for labour. So if there's something that you really enjoy eating, just whack it in your hospital bag or your home birth bag for when you've had baby or during labour as well. Number 7, give it to your birth partner. Give this list to them. This is their job. Okay, I feel like I went through that as very quickly. But yeah,
That
thank
was
you.
brilliant.
Oh, thank you, Rochelle. Thanks for listening. And if there's any questions, go for it.
Yeah, we've had a few questions come in. That was honestly so interesting. There were so many things there that I had no idea about, and I'm gonna go and practice a perineal massage
There you go.
on a Kiwi or on myself because that's so there's so many great things there that I feel like we can go away and like help people. So yeah, I've got a lot from that. So
Wow.
there's a few questions that have come in. So the first one is, how late is too late to book a course?
Um, well, yeah, it's a good question. Most of my courses last around 4 weeks. So I would say 36 weeks is like cutting it quite fine. However, that said, I have had people start later than that, and we've just shortened the course right down. So if you're interested in a course with me, let's have a chat about where you are and what we can fit in. Or if you're not local to me or you prefer a different practitioner, just get in touch with them and ask them because most people are quite flexible about how they deliver their courses. So yeah, unless you're, I mean, I would say maybe 39 weeks, maybe pushing it. But anything up to that point, I would say can work around it.
Great. And I touched on perineal massage a second ago. So someone said, how often do you need to do the perineal massage?
All right, yeah, that's a good question. So from 36 weeks, not before, I would try and do it daily if you can. So try and develop a little daily routine for yourself, which includes the perineal massage. You only need to do it for a few minutes. It's not like you have to be in there for ages. And then get your affirmations. If you have like a playlist of affirmations, whack them on at bedtime, and really develop that nice routine for trying to get off to sleep and doing all the things for you and baby sort of all together.
Amazing. And the final question that came in, it said, is hypnobirthing supported or recognized when you get to the hospital?
Oh yeah, that's a good question as well. I would check with your local hospital, or if you have a local hypnobirthing practitioner, just ask them, even if you're not going to book a course, I'm sure they'll be happy to answer your questions. Here in Skipton and the surrounding area, our hospital, Airedale, is very hypnobirthing friendly. I know this from my personal experience when I had my babies and from my clients as well. So yeah, they're very on board with it. So when you go in labour and explain that you're doing hypnobirthing, there are lots of things that they know to do automatically, like dimming the lights and sort of speaking in a quieter voice and limiting the number of people coming in and out of the room and things like that. So I would just check with your local hospital where they stand on hypnobirthing, but I think it's quite a widely used thing. So hopefully, I hope so.
Amazing. Brilliant. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you to Charlotte. It's been lovely having these 4 sessions together. And thank you to everyone who has listened, as we've gone through the journey of pregnancy, and just want to be thankful to everyone who's been here and listened. All the recordings are available. If you have any questions, you can reach out to myself or Charlotte. And again, if you would like any further support, you can also reach out to us as well.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks so much, Rochelle. I've learned loads. I'm like, oh,
Same.
and that, and that. So yeah, I like echo everything you just said. It's just been brilliant to do the full series and give them a watch on YouTube if you've missed any, or you want to watch them back, or you're new to myself and Michelle, just go and give them a watch, and you'll be able to see what we've been up to for the past, I don't know how many months now. Brilliant. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.